The importance of Paul Selig. So I don't know if you guys know of Paul Selig. He's an author of quite a number, probably 9 or 10 books by now, that he's actually not the author of. He is the channeler of this material. And in my series of the importance of, I'm going over certain people in the spiritual realm, writers or thinkers or musicians, bands, different people who I recommend in terms of guiding you, giving inspiration on your spiritual path. So why do I think Paul Selig is an important person to mention here, and why do I recommend him and his books? So first of all, his series of books starts off with a book called I Am the Word, and then it goes through, there are many different books, but they're all channeled by the same guides, as he calls them. And it's kind of an overall program that these guides are putting out to assist us in what they say is the ascension of humanity. Now, there are a lot of other people covering this same theme. There are Pleiadian channelers like Barbara Marciniak, Barbara Hand-Clow, various other ones that have talked about bringers of the dawn and a new era coming, and then my hypnosis mentor, the late Dolores Cannon, founder of QHHT, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique, wrote a book about the 3 waves of volunteers and the new earth. And then we have Paul Selig's books, and they all point to an idea that humanity is on the verge of a major shift. And not only on the verge, we're in the process of it right now. Now, what I find great, or a few things that I find great about Paul Selig's works, are, number one, I like it when somebody in this field of New Age stuff is kind of skeptical of their own work, their own intuition, their own abilities. I like the humility. When you read through Paul's books, he's constantly arguing with the channeling that's coming through. And that just makes it more believable. And it also kind of brings you in on the process, because there are going to be places where you're arguing too, and they might not be the same places that Paul argues or protests against the information coming through. But the idea is that humanity is awakening, and that we are in the process of embodying what he calls the Christed self, or I might call the higher self. But it's the idea of transcendence of the ego, nothing new in spirituality and philosophy. But the important thing with these books is that as you read the books or listen to the audiobooks, it's kind of like you are being downloaded step by step with a kind of energetic upgrade. Now, I've studied a lot of energy healing, and I've gotten different transmissions or downloads as part of my training. So I feel like I know what it's like to get a download. And when you read Paul's books, and when you repeat the things that he or the guides ask you to repeat after them. If you're sensitive to the energies, you're really going to feel this download happening. And it's not a download of something else. It's really an opening the pathway for your higher self to become more aligned with your conscious self. It's like, I like to say that the kindergartner doesn't have to die for the first grader to be born, right? The first grader builds upon the legacy of the kindergartner. The college student builds upon the education received in high school. So there's a process of transcending the ego that doesn't necessarily mean killing the ego. Even people who are fully enlightened, and they would say there are no fully enlightened people, but that's another topic, that the ego is still there when it is transcended. You still might turn when somebody calls your name because you know that they're talking to you. So the ego, the sense of I am, the sense of a separate identity, doesn't have to completely die for the higher self to start taking over more and more. But anyway, with Paul's work, like I say, one thing that I like about it is that he struggles himself. He very readily acknowledges these aren't his books. He has not written them. These are channeled sessions that oftentimes, if not always right now, he conducts either in front of groups or recorded online. And then they are transcribed into books. And the only editing that happens might be where he said the wrong word or some little grammatical thing needs to be corrected. It's a very minor correction. Paul comes from a background of academics, being a university professor. He's a Yale graduate. He's nobody's idiot. And he's not the kind of person that cynics of New Age spirituality, let's say, prefer attacking. I mean, the guy is kind of coming into this kicking and screaming, and it gives a lot more credibility. So the fact that he doesn't take credit for what comes through, the fact that he even argues against what comes through a lot, and the fact that he's not somebody that you could just pin as somebody full of shit, that's out there making stuff up. You can tell, and I've had the privilege of working with him personally, receiving a reading from him, and I can tell you, spot on, and really helpful information. If you ever get a chance to have a private reading with him, do so. I doubt he would be able to fit you in very easily nowadays, but the most important thing, like I said, it's like step by step as you go through these books, you are downloaded with your own higher self. And the changes in your energy system will be noticeable. Maybe not at the moment that you read the book, but stay with it. Things are going to happen. Awakening is going to happen. Challenges are going to come up. And inauthentic issues that you're holding on the mental belief level or the emotional trauma level, those are going to come up to be cleansed. So if you are going through the process of reading his books, you might want to be working with some type of healer or therapist as you do it, and somebody that understands these concepts. Because, like I say, as you ascend, things of a lower level that you're dealing with will come up. And you don't want to get stuck there. So I highly recommend reading Paul's books or listening to them on audio, and start from the beginning and go in order. Not that you have to, and if your intuition calls you to do it in another way, follow your intuition always. But I find that if you go step by step in order, that it really just, you're laying down a foundation, and then you're laying down the next level and the next level and the next level. And the shifts can be really noticeable. He also does online classes and workshops. So I highly recommend checking him out. And so thanks for listening. If you'd like any more information on what I do, go to my website, andysway.com. Thank you very much. Bye.